Hey there, card readers. April here on Tarot and Witchery, and today I wanted to talk about curating your tarot and oracle reading experience. Like actually getting to those decks that you haven't gotten to, creating an experience that allows you to study the way that you want, just getting like a little bit more intentional. This is something that I've really been diving into the last 3 months, and I wanted to share some of the kind of tips and tricks that I've picked up with that, what's working for me, what didn't, and maybe some ideas for how you can integrate this into your practice just to make it more meaningful. And again, to get to some of those decks, like if you have deck overwhelm, or like if you're already, you're always reading with the same deck, you know who you are out there, just always grabbing the same one. Or if you're not really getting deeper in your practice, I really have found that this helps with all of the above. But before we begin, let me know down below how many of you are dealing with deck overwhelm, like you have decks you haven't gotten to that you want to, or maybe you're in burnout because there's just so many decks and you're not feeling like you're getting anywhere in your practice, or if you're one of those people that does just grab the same deck over and over again. Let me know down below who you are. Okay, so I began kind of getting conscious about curating my readings about 3 months ago, and this has my practice is skyrocketing. It is doing so well, and I'm feeling so much better about my purchases, and frankly, just getting to know decks that I've been wanting to through this process. First things first, commit to a space of time that you are going to work with your decks. And I use more than one deck over my period, and I use the calendar month. That's just the easiest for me. Some of you, if you're into astrology, maybe you want to do it for every sign, every zodiac sign. And so, by picking a period of time to commit to, I have found that this has been invaluable for me as an Aries because I'm quick to move on. Maybe some of you are quick to move on. Maybe some of you are not quick to move on, like you get in a rut. So committing to a period of time and being like, okay, at the end of that period of time, I'm gonna be switching it up can be very helpful to you. And then next is choosing the decks that you want to commit to for that period of time. And the way that I do that is as I come around to the end of the month, probably about a week before, I start thinking about the current experience that I'm having with the decks. Like, what is my takeaway lesson? And if you watch my life and tarot videos that I do every month, which are like a retrospect, you'll see that I really think about what my theme has been this month. Like, what have I learned? What has been the energetic pattern or the undercurrent that's been revealed to me that I've really been working with? And then as I start to move into the next month, I think to myself, what kind of energy do I want to go to next? So each one of you, it's going to be totally different how you perceive that. Like for some of you, you may think, okay, next I need grounding energy, or next I want to work on communication, or, next I am just really excited about X deck and that's the one that I really want to get to. Whatever it is, it should spark you. It should be very natural and feel like something that you're being called towards. Now, a little caveat here on this one. Sometimes I just commit to things that I know that I need to do. So for the last couple months, I have committed to working with a deck that is considered a tarot deck or calling itself a tarot deck, but it has a different system. And, I did that because I have really been exploring a question that I hope to really talk about later, which is the evolution of the tarot. Can the tarot evolve and how far it can evolve? So I have pushed myself to go in that direction. And the first month, so here's my little how I adjusted it. The first month, I just had that system and I worked with oracles. I always work with a few oracles and a tarot deck. But I found that I needed just a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. So in month 3 of this, I decided to do an outside system, which I'm working with this month, but also to have a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith style deck. Maybe for you that's the Thoth, or maybe it's Lenormand, whatever your comfort zone is. I chose a deck, or I chose this month, I chose a deck that I wanted to work with. This brings me to the next aspect of this, like as far as like choosing a deck. If you're anything like me, then you might have a stack that looks something like this, where, these are the decks that I've gotten. Some of them are still in the plastic. Most of these, I've just looked at and I have not gotten to yet. And so, maybe starting there with one of those decks that you want to get to. If you find that you've kind of got like 2 or 3 decks that you're wanting to, that you can't decide between, then, maybe do a quick deck interview. And I kind of suggest doing it like this. Take the decks that you're kind of torn between and make it simple, you guys. Do not overthink this. Do a quick deck interview. Pick a question that you feel will really work for you. So, let's say you wanted to work on communication for the month. Like that's your vibe that you're going with. Then maybe you might ask, what do you want to teach me about communication? Do what you want to do. Don't overcomplicate it though. For me, I'm just going to do a quick, cut the deck. I'm not going to pick it up and shuffle it. I'm just going to totally trust myself in the moment. I'm going to dive in because that's the type of person I am, but do whatever works for you. Like here, you get the magician, so the witch. And so I'm just going to turn these over. And, I would just quickly, what do you want to teach me about communication here? The devil. And then 10 of cups. Wow. So, very different feels on what each deck wants to teach me. For me, this is about personal communication. Like, how am I wielding my power? Because it's the magician here. What am I doing with that communication? And that's what I'm going to learn about, is personal communication. The devil, I think for this, I'm going to work about unhealthy connections and unhealthy communication and how to be more empowered and mindful about the communication, and then 10 of water here. Well, wow, how's my communication working? How's it really grooving with me? So, that could be just a very quick way to do it. And you can devise any question at all that you want. The biggest thing is to not overcomplicate it, is to actually do it, to just, let the read be what it is. Trust that this is unfolding the way it is, which is my next point, which is make it an adventure. Making your deck read for the month or whatever time that you commit to an adventure, and just knowing that you're going to learn about yourself, and knowing that there could be tough times with that deck. There could be times that you get bored with that deck. But again, by staying committed to that period of time, you really grow from it. I have really grown from being I really just want a different deck. And some of you did the 10 decks for Lent, and so this one. But by not doing it, by not just picking up another deck, and of course, don't be dogmatic about this, But if you're the type of person that's constantly flitting about, or if you're the type of person who's always choosing the same deck that you're comfortable with, then the chances for your growth are limited. Not nil, but limited by that. There's something to grabbing onto a stream of consciousness and staying with it, even when it makes you uncomfortable, even when it's not familiar, especially when it's not familiar. So the idea is to actually do it, to make an adventure, and to just let this be something fun that unfolds. Like I said, I choose 2 oracles and for me, I've chosen 2 oracles and 2 tarot decks for the month. And this allows me not to get too bored, because in month number 1, I chose 1 oracle and 1 tarot, and I was bored stiff. So I decided that's too little. If you're going to cultivate an experience, then you're just going to have to get conscious about it. Frankly, we live as card readers kind of in a very intuitive experience. And so sometimes we can just be a little bit too on the fly about things. That's just me. No judgment, no shade here, anybody. But, I can just be really willy-nilly about things because I'm just trying to be so intuitive about it. And having the thoughtfulness is good. Warning, when choosing your deck, you can have this tendency to say oh, I need the perfect pairing, right? So then you break out that tarot deck you've been meaning to read with, and you look at it, and then you think, well, I want to pair this with an oracle, and you look at your oracles and you can't figure out what oracle pairs with it. And then you get into this idea of, I need to have a new deck. I need a new oracle, or I have this oracle and I really want to pair it with a tarot and I need a new tarot. Don't let that stop you. Let me just say this straight up, you guys. Those are all avoidance behaviors. Those are behaviors that we tell ourselves instead of diving into doing it. They are just distractions, and there's all sorts of stuff to look at there and to unpack for yourself, like why you choose to keep yourself from just diving into something. If for some reason some tarot is formidable to you, or some oracle deck is formidable to you, and you feel like you need something else that you don't have in order to do it, and you can't commit to it for that month, then don't, and come back to it later. Or go ahead and take the dive and say, I'm just going to commit to it. You know, just to be perfectly frank, this month I chose 2 oracle decks to go with this tarot, and I do not like the way one of them pairs at all. And so I am using that oracle deck in a different way, but I am still using it. I am committed to using it, and I'm not going to just, trash the whole thing or not start because I don't have the perfect pairing. That, again, is avoidance behavior. The other thing that can make your reading time actually happen is to make it an experience, to ritualize it a little bit. And I've talked about this in other videos, but I think it's worth mentioning that creating a space for those cards to go that are separate from all the other decks that you have hanging out, that they're out and accessible. In my home, what I have is, like, under my editing station, I have this little footstool, and this is where I keep my decks for the month in, and they're accessible at the table for me so that I can just grab them at any time and sit down and do it. I can just, like, pull a card. Along the lines of making an experience, you can change up the scene. Like, for some of you, routine and ritual is going to be the doorway that gets you in there on a regular basis. And for others of you, it's going to be shaking it up. It's going to be like going outside, doing it somewhere different. Taking your cards in the car with you and pulling one at the stoplight, and just going, wow, and then contemplating that card as you're driving. So many different ways to engage with your cards, and getting creative with that is totally up to you. And I'd love to hear creative ideas down below on how you mix it up with reading with your cards. I'm a journaler, and I like to chronicle that. For me, that's part of being creative, and it's part of self-care. But if journaling is not your thing, then don't make it a thing. Read the cards. Now, the thing is, you want to commit to reading the cards, but you don't want to make it a thing. You know what I mean? A thing. Where suddenly you've created so much energy towards have-tos and shoulds that you create resistance within yourself. That is not what you want to do. Absolutely not what you want to do. So again, I just say, don't make it a thing. Like, if you decided that you're going to do this and you're going to commit to it for a month, and I would say be really careful. Like, be like, I'm going to do this for 6 months. That might be a bit much. Pick a period of time that's right for your personality. Just need to jump in here real quick. So remember, you can change this up next month, the next period of time. So start small, pick something that feels attainable for you, and realize that the next period of time you can adjust and find something that fits you and is right for the phase of life that you're in, or maybe that month and its demands. Look for the magic. Yeah, look for the magical connections that are in your cards. When you find those amazing synchronicities in the cards, that's magic. Take note of it. When you notice a symbol in a card and then it comes up later in the day or the week, that's magic. Look for how that magical thread is being woven into your life. There's magic that is revealed over time, I feel like, with my cards and over the month. The magic in the cards is the relationship that I develop with myself, with the world around me, with my intuition, with my ability to interact with others, to grow, to be more authentic with myself. Maybe you chose, like, I just got this new deck and I've been wanting to work with it. And so maybe what you do is you choose to discover the magic that deck is guiding you towards. Like, you don't even know. Like, I don't know what this deck has to offer me, but I know that it's bringing me into an expression of myself, into understanding myself, and I'm looking for that magic. I'm looking for that sparkle. I'm looking for where the sparkle in the cards is reflected in the sparkle in my life. You know, I'm looking for where the shadow in the cards is reflected in the shadow in my life. These are all opportunities to step into myself, to step into understanding myself and growing into my own personal magic and my own ability to direct my consciousness in ways that are meaningful. Hey guys, I know that I've rambled on and on here, but the last thing I wanted to say is that when you get to the end of your time period, whatever it is, and you're reflecting on the time that you had with that deck, that the really important thing is not to be negatively judgmental about that, to not give yourself any shame for how many times you actually did or didn't read, or even that you didn't like the deck. Like sometimes I sit down and I'm with a deck, like I have this deck this month and I'm not really liking it. I'm just going to be honest, and you'll hear about that in my retrospect for this month. I'm not super liking with it. I'm not clicking with it. That's okay. It's okay. I don't have to be ashamed if somebody else loves it. I don't have to be ashamed at the times that I didn't read with it. Like I just thought, today I don't want to pull a card from this one. I'm just not clicking. It's important to just let your experience be your experience, and to again be that Fool. If you haven't seen my Fool video, you guys watch my Fool video. Allowing myself to experience the deck without judgment, and experiencing, even looking back in retrospect, to not pass judgment about how well I did with the deck or didn't do, how much I journaled or how much I, did. We all have months where we do more or less. The point is to take that step, to make the journey, to enjoy it for what it is, and to move on. To move on, to do more or do less, to commit to more or to commit to less, whatever's right for you, the season that you're in. And again, to let it be organic. I don't know if you have those stickers out there, but we have stickers everywhere all over Oregon. Everybody's got "Don't panic, it's organic." It's kind of an old slogan. Yeah, don't panic, it's organic. Let your tarot practice evolve and grow. And the next month that you curate, you learn from the last month and you get to create an experience that's maybe different, or try something new, try new magical practices, try new decks, and to really use what you have already and really grow in the understanding and the love and mystery and messages that the decks you already have are waiting for you to discover. Thanks so much for being here, you guys. I really enjoyed doing this. I have so much fun. Let me know if you're curating. Go ahead and tinkle that like button down below with a little bit of magic, and let the algorithm know that you liked this video if you did. And give me your honest opinions about this idea. Do you think this is a good idea for you? Would this help you in getting out of a rut and doing more with the decks that you already have and enjoying them? Until we meet again, may you find the strength to move forward into the decks you have without shame or guilt or blame, but with joy and an adventurous spirit into the world of who you are.